Hello everyone. In this tutorial we are going to study to do our first examples of trigger. And again, as you all know, we open our developer console. I already created this trigger, but as you know how to, if you are working on triggers, then the best practice is that you need to create an apex class, which we call it trigger handler class. We write most of all our codes in that class, and then we create a trigger class. So why? Because we don't want to type all our codes in trigger. So normally if you write these codes here in trigger, it works. But what we prefer normally, best practice is that if you have more codes and then it's difficult to control in trigger, or it's not best practice. The best practice is that when you work on triggers, then you should create a handler class. So what's that? This is public class, our class name, and your name also should be related to your class. Account trigger handler class, or you can write handler. This name is that it just should be associated with your class or trigger. And then we create a public static void and my method, and in my method I format a list of s objects, and then after that we create in our class for loop. So for loop, and then as you remember, best practice is multiplication, not for one by one we can create. So each and every time when we on or we create one account, then automatically this one becomes active. By default all triggers are active. So for each account we have a new list method, we have this method, and then acc variable name plus description. It means if when we are creating a new account, and then description should be trigger description, and then acc rating, it will be hot. So with that you can write as many you want, like other fields. Which other fields we have in account? You see, let's say annual revenue, active pick list, and then if you are sure, then create date equals to system dot today. So in this way acc created day equal assign this is a static method. If you want to create a date, then system dot it doesn't accept this one. Let's write acc dot if you want to create that annual revenue equals to let's say 50,000. As you can see, we have no mistake. So this is our handler class. What I want to do when a new account is created. So I want, created in my method, I form a list, and then in that a subject list, for each loop account object, I create a for loop, and then I write my field's name, because this is my new account. New account dot description will be this, rating will be hot, annual revenue is 50,000. So if I go back to my trigger, as you remember, triggers, the format, it starts with trigger name, and then name of the trigger, and on it is must keyword and account. So here you can write before, insert, after, which method events you are using here, you should mention here. If you are writing like after update, then it must be here, after update. So in this trigger, in our trigger, what we do, we write the event's name here and open our blocks, and then we type our code here. If trigger is insert, and just to make it readable, you can write if trigger is insert close parenthesis and write a nested if, or you can write trigger is insert and trigger is before. And in this case, if it is insert and before and insert, account trigger handler class dot my method, it will call this trigger dot new list. Else, if it is trigger is after, if its trigger is after, then call this method. Else, according to this, if it is this is wrong, then it will come here. As trigger is update, then call my method. So in this case, this is correct, is trigger is insert and before. And then let's see, you need to save before you work. Let's go and create one new account. I even go to my anonymous window. I can create a name, Alex. I'm just entering his name. Let's see. Alex Stone was created, and check the details. Rating should be hot, and then annual revenue should be 50,000, and then description should be trigger description. As you can see in my handler class, I have these three fields. So which one you want, you can type there. So I try to put deadline date. So for deadline date, also if you want to populate automatic something like today's date, system.today's method we use to fill populate in. So this is a basic concept of the trigger and the logic and best practice I try to explain. So in coming videos I'm going to explain or some other examples on triggers. Thank you very much for listening.